Charlotte is Regional Sales Manager in Queensland for Stryker. Like myself, you started your career as a physiotherapist before moving into sales into the industry. And you've worked your way from being an associate territory manager through to being a regional sales manager in the industry. So we're really excited to hear your journey and some tips and tricks that you can share with our community. So I'll just stop my share and we'll share your presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tara. Yeah, and big thank you really for having me here tonight. As you mentioned, I'm Charlotte Taylor, so I'm a regional sales manager at Stryker. Basically tonight, really what I wanted to do was run you through my career, share some stories along the way, I guess just so that, you know, people can see some of the challenges and learnings that I've had along my journey. So Tara, I might just get you to just change the slide. Wonderful. So as Tara mentioned, I come from a background of physiotherapy. So I graduated from UQ and I worked as a private practice physio for just under 3 years. So I loved being a physio. I loved the relationships that I built with my patients and that initial challenge of managing those musculoskeletal injuries. But like many physios, I did feel a bit underwhelmed with my career. I felt like I'd reached a bit of a ceiling with my earning capacity. And I also felt like most days I was no longer challenged. I'd always been so intrigued by the medtech world, and I spent my final year as a physio trying to break into the world of medical devices. So despite applying for countless roles, Stryker were actually the only company that took a chance on me and responded to my application. They took a chance by offering me an associate territory manager position within joint replacement. And I remember very naively being so disappointed that they didn't offer me a territory manager role straight off the bat. But needless to say, within that first week of starting, my disappointment was replaced with relief. I really had no idea how much I didn't know. So that first year in the role, I think I said yes to every opportunity. I was dying to get better. So any add-on case that came up, I put my hand up for. Any sales opportunity I came along to. I made lots of mistakes and I spent the majority of my day outside of my comfort zone, and I truly loved it. So just the next slide, please, Tara. So a bit over a year into being an associate territory manager, the Gold Coast territory was split and I applied for that TM role, managing the South Territory. I was successful. It was a big jump for me at that point. Whilst I'd had a year of clinical experience under my belt and I could finally add value in theatre, I had not yet had the chance to really have that responsibility of a sales number. I didn't know the customers on the Gold Coast, and I also had to win the respect of my clinical team, who were at the time far my senior in tenure and in that knowledge piece as well. I remember thinking, how do I add value to my team? How do I get them to trust me? And will they ever look to me as a leader, which is what the expectation was of a territory manager in joint replacement. So over the next 3 years, we did see significant growth within this territory, both in sales and with the size of the team to service that business. The number of clinicals in the patch doubled and the dollar value of the territory increased by over 50% within that period. So for me, there were some big challenges I had to overcome and a lot of learning that took place. I worked extremely hard to win the trust of my customers and to execute my business plan. I knew what I was doing was getting traction, but with this, I became fiercely protective of my business, and I found that I was often spiraling into periods of insanely long hours and burnout. I found it really hard to trust other people in my team to look after the customers the same way I did. But ultimately, I could only be in one place at a time. And if I really wanted that business to continue to grow and to have a bit of a work-life balance, I needed to trust other people and bring my team along that journey with me. So at that point, I really started to invest more time in the team. I got to know their strengths and what motivated them. So here at Stryker, we utilize a framework called Clifton Strengths to look at what people are exceptionally talented in. I spent a lot of time with my HR business partner to try and uncover ways of better working with the team. I also invested a lot of time in the team to really understand what motivated and drove them most about the role. I didn't always get it right. In fact, quite often I did get it wrong, but I always learned from those situations. And to my delight, those in the team seemed to like having their own responsibilities and projects, and we became more productive as a group. At this point, I really started to realize how rewarding it was seeing other people being able to use their skills and work towards a common goal. And with this came mutual respect. So just the next slide, if that's all right, Tara. Thank you. So given the success the team had and how closely the two Gold Coast territories worked together, the business made a decision and we merged the Gold Coast territories into one big one. At this point, that territory was bigger in dollar value than some of the states in the business. It was a team of 8 and I was promoted into a business territory manager position. So for anyone that doesn't know, that particular role is a role that Striker has created to encourage the development of leadership skills. So essentially you have the same responsibilities that a TM would have, but with a far greater expectation around that leadership piece. So you truly manage the day-to-day of the business with a relatively large team. And really the role was created given the success the business had seen with robotics and to ensure that exceptional salespeople were able to partner with their clinical team to continue to grow business. The role enables salespeople to truly develop leadership skills to become sales managers, or you basically just get recognized for being really successful in that role and being a leader day to day if you decide that that's not the path that you necessarily want to go down. I loved this role, but again, it did come with challenges. And I'd say my biggest challenge was influencing without authority. How were other people perceiving me? Was I really respected? Sometimes I felt I got this right and I was influencing and getting the team's respect. And other times I felt I didn't back myself enough when things got difficult and I let things go. I'd say one of my biggest learnings in this role was the importance of setting expectations. And this has helped me in so many aspects of my life. I think it's really important to set expectations as a colleague, as a manager, but even someone being managed. I truly believe that clear communication is what sets other people around you up for success. I built trust and respect by working out what I could bring to the group that otherwise other people couldn't bring. And we also made sure we had a lot of fun. So it was a really great group. There was a lot of banter. And I think having fun was also another reason why we were happy and successful. This was also the first role I've had in sales where I had to decide on what opportunities not to chase. So I'm sure the salespeople on this call can understand how difficult that is. I learned how important it was for strategy and business planning to be really, really simple. And I made my focus in the role communicating the business plan to the rest of the team, making sure they knew what part they played in it. Also me executing my part. But I guess the other big part was actually celebrating the wins that we got together. Just the next slide, please, Tara. So this year was my first official year in a sales manager position. And whilst I've been doing aspects of this role for years, this new position was again, further challenges. It was one thing to influence without authority, but another to truly be given that responsibility of having direct reports. It was also difficult going from a colleague and friend to a manager, especially when some people in the group, again, had far more tenure than me. I also moved into a management group where I'd actually been previously managed by some people within that group. So there was also that challenge of me trying to gain some of the respect of my new peers. This year was also the first year I've had a P&L. So opening that Excel spreadsheet for the first time for me was like reading another language. I reached out to our finance analyst and requested some help understanding it. And I was actually delighted to learn she was new in her role too, because I felt pretty silly at that point. And while she's very, very experienced in finance, she actually didn't know the JR business very well at all. So straight away, we were able to realize how much we could help each other. And to this day, we still do monthly catch-ups and still help each other, which is really great. I've also realized how important it is to back myself and not let insecurities or feelings of imposter syndrome drive the decisions that I make. Earlier this year in a mentor meeting, I remember questioning some of the decisions I'd made for the business. My gut feeling was telling me that I was spot on with the decisions that I'd made, but I was still doubting myself. The mentor I was speaking to challenged me and asked me why, after so many years, of, of being a leader within the business, why I did that. And it actually really gave me the strength to realize that that's really just an insecurity. And, I do have the skills, and I was put in this role for a reason. So anytime now I have that doubt, I remind myself of that conversation and, essentially why I'm here. But by far the hardest part of this role, I think for me, has been making those decisions that are best for the business, knowing the huge impact that it has on the people that I genuinely care about. So, some of these people have been in my team since right at the beginning. And overall, it's been incredibly rewarding seeing the team develop and, and achieve some really incredible things. Just a final slide, please, Tara. So really, for anyone in sales that's considering people management roles, my advice to you would be, number one, invest time in developing those skills. I think there are so many excellent leadership books and podcasts out there. Block out weekly time for self-reflection. I think this has been probably the most valuable thing I've done for my own development. And I truly believe that if you don't take the time to critically self-analyze, you're actually not going to grow in any aspect of your life. Secondly, I would say to use the network around you. So I really believe that, Stryker, the best bit about it is the people. But more broadly, the medtech industry does attract some pretty incredible people. So I think network and always be respectful and courteous of your competitors. You never know what you're going to learn from people around you and what having people on side will do for you. Thirdly, I think you really need to understand what your company can provide you in terms of development. Partner with your HR team, proactively seek out talent programs. And again, my experience is Stryker, and I know we do an excellent job of our talent programs. But I think if you reach out to other people within the business, you will be able to get some of that direction that you're after. And my final piece of advice is to get a mentor. If you don't have a formal program at work, proactively seek someone out. And also be a mentor. Put your hand up for a buddy program, reach out to a new starter, and make them feel really welcome and supported.